Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, May 16th, 2025. I am John471, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. First, I will pause to read our disclaimer. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Moving on to our news. As mentioned, today is Friday at 8:30 Eastern. We have housing starts and permits. Where is it? Right here, housing starts and permits at 8:30. We also have import and export prices at the same time. At 10 o'clock, we have the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment. That's probably going to be one of our most important data point today, although nothing's really that important today. We also have Trump on the calendar here, as well as ECB's Lane, and I believe Barkin. Yeah, there's Barkin, but not until later on. So that is our news for today. Let's move on to our charts. Okay, we're just going to take a quick look at the higher time frame here. This is the S&P 500, daily bars, full session, and just really big picture. What we're seeing here is just a market that pushed to an all-time high up here, established a bit of a trading range, reverted lower. We had a big fight area here. Obviously, this is all news driven. We know that. Had a big fight area here, continued lower, seemingly found a bottom, seemingly, attempted to retest, was unable, pushed through this fight area, and now we're attempting to regain this this upper area. That seems to be what we're attempting to do. What are the important areas here? What else can we gather from this chart besides just seeing the big picture action? Well, what we can tell here is that we had been one time framing higher. We broke the one time framing, but we're able to continue the trajectory higher. This is Friday. We're also we're going into Friday with having settled higher than we opened every day this week. So that's pretty strong. Do we have targets here? We do have targets. The key target, I said, for me, pushing higher above the 5821s, which were really our key target. We've surpassed that area. The next big area is the 6,000, the psychological 6,000 number, which will get us into the trading range I talked about right here. Are there other intermediate targets ahead of that price? There definitely are. There's a fairly important one. Let's discuss that on the next chart. Okay, so here we are on a chart at the S&P 500. This is still daily bars, but this is RTH only. And what I wanted to talk about here just briefly, as these 4 days obviously are our week in progress, with Friday being today. And what do we have this week? We started, we opened the week above the prior week. We tried to pull back. We found quick support, and we have been able to maintain this sort of choppy trend higher. We have single prints left from yesterday. It's really, this action is pretty interesting. As I've said, we opened here, essentially opened here, tested lower, reverted higher, left a clear double distribution profile, and then just began to trend from here. You see, we pushed higher out of this. We found an initial offer. We again tried to pull back, but the bids and support just held us right here. And then yesterday, obviously, we were able to push higher and settle higher. And the way that yesterday's profile looks to me, it's screaming that there just is not enough for sale in this area, and we need to push higher to find willing sellers. We could easily find them today. We could find them immediately, but from what happened yesterday, that's what we're seeing. That's what I'm seeing today. Pretty clear. This profile, pretty clear LIS in my opinion. This signifies demand in my eyes. So any push into this area, I would expect buyers to step up at some point. And if they do not, then I would expect all of the volume, all of the buyers that attempted to buy there to have to puke out. Now, another reason I'm on this chart, I just want to show you something. I mentioned something about another target. So what we're going to do here is just go straight to the left, until we get to, boom, the last time we traded these prices. And the last time we traded these prices were, this is March 3rd. This day. This is what's called our template day. This is the last day we traded these prices. And so what we see here is March 3rd, we have some single prints left right here. These singles are important. These singles, they're the ones that we're just kind of pushing into. And we also have our March 3rd naked VPOC. This is a March 5th one. I'll have to get rid of this. That should be taken off. But regardless, so this template day, we see these singles left here. We also see these singles left here, which is kind of where on this day we had buyers attempting to hold prices right here, and then the flush happened and we never were able to come back. We went the whole way to the bottom from here. So for me, these single prints at 82, this is the big deal. These 82s are the big deal. We also have the yearly close for 2024 up here, and then we have Millennium. So for me, today, if we're able to push higher, these single prints are really the key area for us to be reaching for. And if we're able to get these prices, then I would expect potential stops to go off into these targets right here. If we are instead unable to get these single prints, then I could see us starting to revert lower from this area if we after an initial push higher. Let's go to a smaller time frame chart and plan for more specific price action. Okay, here we are on our intraday chart. Let's plan for paths that price may take. We're going to begin with bullish ideas because that's the bias. That's the default bias for me right now. We have taken the prior day's high already. And you can see that our Globex session so far is giving us a double distribution profile, accepting prices above the prior day's high. We're into those 3-3 singles I talked about, those initial ones, we're into them. And we have our final set of singles up here in the 82s. And above, we have all those other good targets I talked about. So we'll begin with the bullish ideas. What's the most bullish idea? The most bullish idea is really if we just hold this key LVN in the overnight profile. Like if we hold the 5940s, that would be the most bullish idea. It might not give us an entry. I'll just say, if we get some type of a nice pullback at some point, some volatility into into yesterday's distribution here, a pullback into here that then finds support and reverts above, that would be great to get that set up. I don't know if it'll happen. But regardless, the bottom line here is if we hold the overnight low, whether we push in these singles or not, if we hold the overnight low and we push and we get up into this 55 zone, except the mid-century area, then I would be open to excursion higher. If we show that we are not willing to trade prices in yesterday's range, we just continue. In which case, we would just be essentially looking for the targets that I just laid out. The first one that I would, be looking at as a key target would be the 74 zone, ahead of the singles, these 80s. I'm thinking there is going to be some resistance at this, waiting to sell around the 80s or above. This whole area, I would expect there to be resistance. So if we get this push, what it might look like is just kind of a push. Maybe we get this zone the first try, maybe not, but I would expect kind of a trending push higher into ideally to get these 82s. If we get the 82s, that would be my key target for the day, and I would not necessarily need to see any excursion beyond that. However, I'll note that if we get through the 82s and we accept prices in this 85 to 91 stock zone, that could really be a fulcrum that could push some stops, trigger some stops, and we might see the push into Millennium today. If we do, Millennium is the key extended target. This area. We also have that naked VPOC at 6006. That would be the key area if we just continue higher. All right, what happens if we get a pullback? Can we go bullish if we take the overnight low? Definitely, because I'll tell you that if we do get some type of an initial push into this area. As I've said, like a pullback into this area, like I'm not going to just put a bid out there, but this would be a place where I would be open to seeing price push, find support, and then give some type of a clear setup higher. I would really, in an ideal situation, if something like that happens, the ideal way it could happen is seeing the push into this area, seeing the exhaustion, the seller exhaustion happen, and then getting the impulse above yesterday's VPOC. That would be the picture perfect way to trade it. It won't happen the picture perfect way. It never does. But I'm just flagging that a push into here that finds support and then reverts would be appetizing to me. Let's discuss ideas how the bullish idea could be completely wrong. Well, first off, as I've said, we could get that initial bullish push towards those targets and then sellers just come in and shove us back down below first the 50s. And then if we end up, getting this push, having it refuted, and then getting trapped back within the prior day's range, then that is going to portend a potential pullback for me. And of course, I would be looking for a test of this zone, which is yesterday's VPOC, as I've just said. This is an area that could be support, but if we already get the test and everybody starts selling, then I would not be so ambitious about the support holding and instead would look for that push that I just talked about into this HVN region. Now, like I just said, this is an area where I would expect buyers to want to get interested. And we might see, even if we get this push, what could happen is we just sort of zipper here, attempt, boom, revert, and start going higher. That's how this could happen. However, if we see that, if we instead see us push to here, we make that probe, then it looks like we want an impulse. But we can't get back into our prior accepted area, which is the VPOC, and instead we fall back below this fulcrum and start pressing 5900s, then that could start to mean that things are changing a little bit, and I would be open to, as I've said here, a test of 5900 and potentially a retest of these 85s here, this 85 stock zone. Now, I would still expect support on the first touch here, but I'll tell you that if we lose this 85 stock zone today and start pushing lower, that could potentially mean the environment is changing a little bit today and we might see more reversion than I think. I'm not going to be super aggressive to initiate shorts down here, but I will be tentative. I would be open to holding a runner. Overall, though, we have to recognize this is a pretty bullish environment we're walking into. I wouldn't really, and like I said, this area, this Wednesday, this to me is really looking like support. Any pushes into this area, I'm tending to think that buyers are going to at least initially be interested. And for us to really start to get structurally short, we'd have to lose this area, lose this VPOC, and see sellers start to move from up here to down here and start to push. That's the way that I would want to, how I would be open to the structural short, is seeing price get pushed down to here and seeing the sellers follow it and keep pushing from this area. Anyway, all right, that's what I got for you. We're not going to do crude. Crude's in the process of rolling to July. Things get a little bit weird when products roll. I tend to let them stay away for a day or two. This is what I have for the S&Ps. If there are any questions, please ask me in the chat room. I hope that this is helpful. I hope it's complete. I also hope that you hit that like button and potentially even subscribe, because that really gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And so, why not? Why not do good things on a Friday? Help us get to 10,000. But any questions, ask me in the chat room. Hopefully this is helpful, and I hope you're having a great morning. I hope your great morning continues, and I hope that you find some way to improve your trading today that does not depend on your P&L. And then you just end and go off into a great weekend. That's what I got, guys. Have a great day. Let's get out there and clock those ticks. Ciao.